had some time with the demo for Warhammer Survivors, and it's great. Now, I've been a big fan of Vampire Survivors for a while. I've enjoyed the fun simplicity of its gameplay loop, combined with the frankly ridiculous amount of unlocks and challenges to pursue. It's really been an amazing time sink. It's incredible how it easily hooks me into that hypnotic flow state that makes me just lose hours in the game without even realizing it. And now it comes in a glorious Warhammer skin. Now, we've got a different developer at the helm for this licensed version, but it is using the same game engine, and so that fundamental gameplay loop is the same. Yes, it's more of the same from Vampire Survivors, just in the Games Workshop's IP themed cone to paint, but for me that's really all I wanted since this thing was announced. Now, if you've played Vampire Survivors, or frankly any of the bullet heavens that it inspired, then you know exactly what you're getting into with this. Waves of enemies as you slowly level up and increase your killing power and survivability in each run, followed by getting permanent upgrades for meta progression, making each run a bit different and giving you new toys to play with each time. Weapon evolutions and combinations of passive power-ups to take on different enemies, and it's all rendered in some really great pixel art and sprites. The representation of the enemies shown in the demo, so that's the Tyranids and my beloved Skaven, are really great. You can see very clearly how they've directly taken them straight from GW's minis and official artwork. The sprites we see in the demo are just great, and hopefully once we get the full game we can get a lot more variety and more factions and minis represented. It's only a tiny sample we're given here, but if the quality of these is maintained throughout and we get anywhere near the amount of variety we got from Vampire Survivors, it's going to look great. We've got essentially two themed games we can choose in this one. One for Warhammer 40k and one for Warhammer Age of Sigmar. Both of them have separate progression paths for unlocks and the meta progression. Different characters, different maps. Some weapons are exclusive to each setting. Some of the passive weapons and pickups that are based on like non-diegetic elements, like Games Workshop's own hobby products, are shared between the settings, but anything diegetic seems to be locked to their own universe, or at least in the demo. One of the things for my wish list of the full release is that we'll see the ability for these things to cross over between the two settings, and that's not only because I want to be rocking Gotrek Gurnison with all weapons in all maps. That's certainly a big reason as to why I want it, but not the only one. Given the nature of the game, it's not like we're telling a canon story. This isn't some Black Library epic novel. So the opportunity to just have fun and mishmash together as many different elements as possible from all the Warhammer settings and stories and even out-of-universe content is massive. This is a game where we can just have fun with the license, and I hope that is something that we see actualized in the full release and really embraced in the ongoing development of it. Now, really, one of the great things about Vampire Survivors was the sheer amount of content and support that the developer Pongal has put into it over the years. They've been continually adding new content, new characters, new maps, new weapons, both in the form of some paid DLCs, but also in the form of a lot of free updates that just kept expanding the game, kept adding new things to unlock, new goals, new interesting ways to play it. So whilst Warhammer Survivors is with a different developer for this release, it's not with Pongal, I'm hoping that they have taken their cues from Pongal in this regard, and that it's something that if it does well enough, and fingers crossed it will, because this is something that I'm certainly quite excited about, and I'm hoping other people can see the virtues of and get to enjoy. But I'm hoping that if it does well enough, and if they've taken their lessons and they've learned from the way Ponkel supported Vampire Survivors for all these years, this could be something that could continue to grow and expand and just keep improving, and just keep adding more fun to us to have with this particular gameplay loop in this sort of beloved of settings. Admittedly, they won't necessarily be able to do some of the DLC styles that Ponkel did, like where they've had outside license stuff like the Castlevania DLC, etc. They won't be able to do that within the Warhammer version of the game, obviously, but there's so much scope within Games Workshop's own IPs that you're not necessarily limited because of that. They could add like Necromunda themed DLCs. We could have, old world content. You could have, hell, even Mordheim themed pack. There's a lot of scope there to do a lot of things, especially since, again, it isn't tied to any given Warhammer story or narrative. So they've got total free reign, and I hope that's something that really gets embraced. All in all, I had a good time with the demo, and I really hope that Warhammer Survivors ends up being what I hope it will. That is a continuation of all the enjoyment I've had from Vampire Survivors, but with the added fun of an IP that I just love. I mean, that's already a proven formula, as the Castlevania DLC for Vampire Survivors was one of my absolute favourite additions that they made to the original game, and this will hopefully be an even bigger and better example of the same kind of approach. I mean, they even made spilling Nuln Oil an offensive weapon, for goodness sake. What's not to love about that? Fingers crossed the final release lives up to the admittedly high expectations that have been set, and that we'll be seeing the release of that full game very soon. Thank you so much for watching to the end. If you enjoyed, please feel free to do the subscribe and the likey and all those buttons. If you'd like to join the Church of the Great Horned One, we live stream regularly on Twitch, where we do hobby hangouts and gaming, and generally have a good time. Hope to see you there, and thanks again. I swear to the Great Horned One, if I can't have Gotrek and Felix in this one, I am going to fucking riot.